Hello everyone, Soul here, and welcome to my guide and kind of preview breakdown video of Dimensions and Transcendence Tier 7. In this video we will be discussing the stage requirements, the stage themselves, and some general recommendations or tips for who to bring, and then I will then divulge who my personal teams are going to be for each stage. Now, a couple of shoutouts need to go out here. Tonberry Troop, of course, for their exhaustive research. The information in the first part of this video will all be from their guide of Tier 7, so I will have a link to that below in the description if you'd like to check that out. And also my buddy Sephi for providing the gameplay you guys will be seeing. Thank you, sir, as well. Always a pleasure. So, yeah, Transcendence Tier 7 isn't going to be as bad as the last couple, because with the advent of C90 era, it does make things quite a bit easier because characters are so strong now, at least the C90s are. But nevertheless, we will break the stage down and figure out who to bring and how we're going to tackle this one. Let's get started. Okay, let's go ahead and start things off here with the left crucible. So the enemy here are two lunatic glow lizards. The orb will be up the entire fight with a 15 count and a 15 max. Taking 4 HP attacks is to proc the orb, and that is a +5 count, and it requires a blue crystal character. So, blue crystal suggestions here: Locke, Sid, Highwind, Pain, Maria, Ursula, Kate Sith, Ash, 8, Rosa, and Edward. And then orb suggestions: Locke, Sid, Null, Onion Knight, Pifa, Sarah, Machina, Cater. So the orb here, thankfully, if you have a character that can proc it, it's not going to be difficult to proc. I mean, 4 HP dumps is... it's not very common per se, but the characters that can do it can fire off the attacks that can do it pretty often, and can proc it no problem. This is going to be a 60-turn Lufenia fight. Each glow lizard has 10 million HP with 20 million HP total. Brave damage is reduced between 40% and 85% throughout the fight, and Brave gain is reduced a laughable 20 to 30% throughout the fight. Something, a theme you'll notice throughout this tier is that Brave gain reductions are very low because they were trying to sell players to draw for Furion, and yeah, having low Brave gain reduction means Furion can just pop off. So some general tips: Insta Break and full Gravity Shavers help handle the big Brave gains from Guard Resonance. So these lizards will, if you don't remember, use a move called Guard Resonance where they both gain some Brave, and then they take ones or at least significantly reduced damage until they are broken. C90 units can handle the orb and deal a lot of damage. Feel free to delay the boss away or bring a tank/HP damage mitigator when they start swinging. Boss abilities to watch out for: Blaze Impact, which is a Brave gain plus AoE Brave plus AoE HP. Speaking of, how about that? Glow Rush, recover from Brave, is a Brave HP attack, and then Guard Resonance. Batter each other, increase int Brave and HP damage dealt, reduce Brave damage taken. Again, until they are broken. So, there's really not too much to say about here. These enemies, for the most part, are exactly how they were when we fought them last. Their AI and such isn't different. As long as you can handle that orb, you're going to be good to go. And again, with C90 era, we really have some options now on characters that can hit and proc that orb. But this one isn't going to be tough. I mean, if you want to, you can just delay or delete these guys away, or just, launch, and just get this one over with. It's going to be a pretty memeable comp. And again, 20 to 30% Brave gain reduction means that you're going to be doing stupid amounts of damage. It's going to be really funny. So let's go ahead now, because the left crucible is just going to be over before you even know it. Let's move on over here to the right crucible. Okay, so for the right crucible here, we have 3 lunatic ghost brothers. The orb will be up the entire fight, an 8 count with 8 max. And to proc the orb, you're going to need damage from a trap or special effect counting down, which would be +6 count. Now, we just had this kind of effect in Global here with the most recent Abyss, and I saw a lot of people confused because the devs worded it so weird. So, let me just make it as easy as possible. You just need to inflict a trap, and then the trap needs to count down by the enemy's acting. And that's it. Or you can use, like, Ace, for example, with his card, how his debuff goes down every turn. Core actually can even work as well by when an enemy acts, because his technically counts as a trap. I don't know. I don't know how that works. But yeah, apparently that'll work. You also need to bring a red crystal character here to this fight. Some red crystal suggestions: Varian, Onion Knight, Aerith, Reno, Zell, Beatrix, Leod, Vanille, Karasume. And some orb suggestions: Furion, Cater, Garnet, Ace, Core, Emperor, Trey. I mean, the list just goes on and on, guys. This orb condition is very, very easy. And yeah, it won't be a problem. Now, fight mechanics: 60 turn fight, each brother with 10 million HP. Brave damage is reduced by 70% throughout the fight. The Brave gain is reduced between 20 and 30%, a memeable amount again, throughout the fight. This fight is basically built for Furion as he fulfills crystal objective, orb condition, and provides healing if you need it. Maria also works for the orb and healing. The bosses actually do lock their turns, as you can see here in the video, so you can't prevent them from acting, so rely on off-turn damage to bring healers, mitigators, tanks for safety. Some boss abilities to watch out for: bosses cannot be delayed, broken, delayed, or deleted. That's very important here. We have not had a fight to this point where an enemy locks their turn the entire time. I think Alexander was probably the closest, but even he unlocked his turn at one point, if I'm remembering right. So yeah, that's definitely new. But these enemies have such little health that it'll be over before you know it. Bosses, let's see, they have Touch of Gloom, which is a brave attack and inflicts defense down, and Dark Bargain, which is a brave HP attack. And that's it. This fight is very, very similar to past encounters with these enemies, where their AI really hasn't been changed. They just come out and they do their thing and then they die. So yeah, just basically bring someone that can withstand their attacks. Again, they don't really have any crazy attacks. They're pretty simple AI wise. So off turn damage here is going to be your best friend. Counter characters, so like 8 Gladiol. I mean, the list just goes on and on for, you know, counter characters, dodge characters, trap characters. However, this stage is going to be just as memeable as the left gate, and you're going to be thinking, wow, this is going really well so far. So let's go ahead and move on over to the main gate here, and hopefully things get a little bit tougher, because so far this has been a joke. Okay, so here we are at the finale, the Reckoning Gate. This is against 2 Lunatic Murder weapons. The orb here will appear at the battle start with a 10 count, 10 max. Disappears below 80%. Will reappear below 50% at a 10 count with 10 max. The orb can also be procced here with restoring at least 20% max HP with an ability, which is plus 3 count per ally. Or the murder weapon just taking a turn, which is a plus 2 count. So this is going to be a 60 turn fight. Each weapon has 15 million HP for 30 million HP total. Brave damage reduced between 70 and 80% throughout the fight. And if you had to guess, what do you think the Brave game reductions are here? If you said they're going to be higher than the last couple because this is the finale, you'd be wrong. Brave gain is reduced between 20 and 30% throughout the fight. General team themes to counter the stage. Each player action ticks for -2 on the orb. So turn hog responsibly. Just be careful if you're going to be taking a whole bunch of turns, because you're going to be penalized a little bit extra here on this one. Defense Ignore is highly recommended as they have high defense, and their yellow aura, which further reduces damage, will go away enough if you use Defense Ignore a lot. The HP requirement on the player side here is quite low. Bringing a healing call can help in a pinch near the end, especially since these enemies have an HP poison aura, which is attached to their Lophinia orb, and you will need to bring a healer. Maria, Leod, Furion, and Snow are good combinations for healing. Cater is a strong option to keep party safe while not providing healing with her freeze from her LD, and her dodging and her 1-turn lock. Speaking of lock, Machina and Lock with their burst plus 3/3 melt this fight to support them and cover the orb. Null is another solid option for damage. Some boss abilities to watch out for. Special Countdown appears. This is when their orb will appear. It has a 30% max HP poison aura attached while the orb is active. It has an attack called Magic Size. It's an AoE brave attack on the party, inflicts brave damage down -50% to party. So that's actually a pretty sizable amount. Swing Rod, it'll target a random player below 30% max HP. It's a brave attack, lowers buff counts by 4, can only happen 3 times. This count resets once below 49%. It's a very specific answer for this attack. I'm not sure why that attack got that, but yeah, okay. And then taking defensive stance. This is your yellow aura that I've mentioned a couple times here. So that will actually raise their defense quite a bit. occurs when the orb leaves, and then will reappear again below 50%. So removing the aura requires a combination of the following things to occur 20 times. So this is important here. So, number 1, the boss can take a turn. 2, the boss gets hit with defense ignore. And 3, our party recovers more than 1% max HP with an ability. Once any of those things happen a combination of 20 times, then the yellow aura will go away. And then you can resume doing, well, somewhat decent damage. And that's it. that's all for the Lithuania Tonberry Troop guide. As I mentioned at the start of this video, this tier, especially with the advent of C90, really isn't going to be too bad. As long as you can just proc the orbs, and I don't think the orbs are anything super duper crazy this time around, you're going to be good to go. The one orb that I can see giving maybe some people some trouble is the 4 HP attacks in 1 turn, just because not every single character can do that, of course. It does require some specific choices for that one. But we just had one in Global for the Abyss where it was 5 HP attacks in 1 turn. So 4 HP, I mean, that's 1 less. That opens up our options a little bit more. But yeah, so all right, with all of that covered, guys, now let's go ahead and switch over back to in-game, where I will then discuss my teams and how I will be approaching these tiers. So now that we've gone over both the Crucibles and the final Reckoning Gate, let's go ahead now and move on to the portion where I discuss the teams that I'll be using and why I'm doing so. So what do we know about the left Crucible? We need a blue crystal character. The lizard things will give themselves this aura thing that requires instant break or gravity to shave down, or just let them alternatively act, dump their HP and then break them immediately afterwards. And you need to deal 4 HP attacks in 1 turn to fulfill the orb requirement. So with that in mind, and because this tier is such a meme, just in general, my first team is actually going to be 8 and Cater. Now, Cater is going to fulfill the orb requirement single-handedly. 8 is going to keep the team safe, and also he has both Defense Ignore on his LD counter and his EX counter. So both of those should be invaluable. But yeah, this team, it might take a hot minute, but this team should easily clear the stage, no problem. Just because, again, these lizards aren't very scary on their own at all, and yeah, I really don't see a way this team can fail, aside from if Cater's 90% evade fails, which, as we all know, any number less than 100 on evade is 0. So there's definitely a chance. I am going to attempt to run it without a healing call, though, because I would love to have both Jekt and Bart's calls available, just in case, so when they do put up that Brave Guard Resonance thing, I can immediately break them both using the calls, and then I don't have to worry about it. But we'll see. We'll see how things play out, but yeah, I definitely think this team should be able to clear it absolutely no problem. So for the right Crucible, then, we need a red crystal character. We need traps going down by a debuff to proc the orb, and the enemies lock their turn, so they're definitely going to be getting turns. And yeah, that needs to be respected. So for the right Crucible, I am going to use a team of Beatrix, Leod, and my shitty-ass built Snow. So I really only wanted to run Beatrix and Leod here, but with how Leod cuts his HP constantly, I don't know if a duo of those will be possible, because again, the ghosts are going to be acting quite frequently. And I'm afraid on their Brave HP attack especially, Leod would be taken out at some point. So I'm bringing my raggedy-ass Snow here. With Steel Guard, he will make himself basically invincible to Brave damage, and with the amount of battery from both Beatrix and Leod, he should be decently doing some damage. He doesn't have his LD. He actually does, funny enough, have all of his weapon passives, despite me not even having a piece of weapon, not having any weapons for him at all, because I sold them all because I hate Snow. But I do have all of his weapon passives just by playing the game over the course of, oh my god, 4 years now. So despite him having a 1 LB Sid Reigns 15 CP, hopefully he can do some damage. I mean, again, he's going to be having enough battery up the ass, so feel like that'll definitely do it. But yeah, Beatrix with her Rose Petals debuff will be able to handle the orb. Leod has his cracked auras and healing, and yeah, should be fun. This team should definitely get it done. I'm going to try a Beatrix-Leod duo first. It might be possible, but again, I just don't know with Leod cutting his HP. If not, though, then I'll bring in this goofy-ass Snow, and yeah, I'll get it done. So with the left and right Crucibles done now, we basically have a team of Beatrix, Leod, 8, and Cater to choose from. And I think a combination of all 4 in some form or fashion would actually be a good choice for me. But I think right off the bat, I'm going to try Leod, Beatrix, and 8. Now, this team works on the final stage for a couple of reasons. Leod and Beatrix have a lot of healing, which will be great to counteract the orb. 8 will be able to obviously dodge their attacks and keep them at bay. His defense ignore on both his EX and his LD counters are going to be extremely helpful because, again, to dispel the enemy's yellow aura, which raises their defense sky high, you need to inflict. You either need to restore health to the party, you need to let them act, and you also need to inflict defense ignore attacks. Beatrix has defense ignore on her LD counter. 8 has defense ignore on 2 of his counters. And I don't think Leod has any defense ignore, but he churns out so much battery at a time that I think this team should be able to get it done no problem. My goal here for this Dimensions End tier is to run no burst characters, because I haven't done a Dimensions End Transcendence like entire tier yet without a burst character in a party in some form or fashion, and I'd like to do it, and I feel like this tier is definitely a prime opportunity to do that, just because of how just kind of lackluster it is. I really don't know what they were going for on this tier. But yeah, I think this will be my final team for that one. Have constant healing, so I can handle the orb aspect of that. The enemies obviously will be acting with this comp, so that's good. Yeah, the poison aura on their orb shouldn't be a problem at all, because again, constant healing, have the HP regen to counteract that. Yeah, should be good stuff. We will see. If 8 doesn't work here, then I'll try Cater. But I think this team will get it done. I really do. I think that defense ignore is going to come in clutch, and we're going to be doing some good stuff for this team. But yeah, so that's it, guys. That is it for my Dimensions End Transcendence Tier 7 kind of breakdown analysis video. This one, as I've mentioned many times throughout this video, is going to be a breath of fresh air, especially after how Tier 6 was with the Mantis and enemies. And oh my god, Tier 6 was really just on some other kind of drugs. And maybe the devs realized that, and they said, you know what, let's throw them a bone for 7. Who knows? Regardless, I am happy that we have a Dimensions End that won't make me want to tear my hair out in the process. So, but yeah, just as a quick recap, left Crucible will require a blue crystal character and 4 HP dumps in 1 turn to proc the orb. The right Crucible requires a red crystal character and a brave damage through, a debuff going down a turn. Just a trap. Just ignore how the devs word it. Just have a trap go off, or have Core use his follow-up thingy before an enemy's turn, so when they're about to attack. And then the final gate, there are 2 methods. You can either heal a unit's HP by 20% of their max HP, or you can just let the enemies act. And there you go. Aside from that, guys, that's pretty much it. So thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know down below if you got this far, what teams you'll be using and who you'll be running here. I definitely think burst plus non-burst comps are 100% possible here, especially for people that, I think this is also a really, really nice tier for people that maybe aren't feeling super confident about Dimensions End to attempt, because yeah, this one shouldn't be that big of a problem, especially with C90. I think C90 is going to make this much easier for people that typically struggle in this type of content or have difficulties. So yeah, even if you're not feeling super confident about DET stuff, give this one a try. I think you'll be surprised. But yeah, that's it for me, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching, as always. I'll see you guys here in the next video very soon. Until then, everyone, please take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time. See you later.